Tea time with librarians. Welcome everyone to Tea Time with Librarians. My name is Lacey Klemm. I am the Northwest Regional Coordinator for the Indiana State Library, and I'm so happy to have Kara Cleveland on today. She is also from the Indiana State Library. And Kara, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So are you ready to spill some tea?
I am. You lay it on me.
So to start, please let us know what your position is at the Indiana State Library and give a brief description of what your job is or what you
Okay.
do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've been at the state library for 6.5 years now, which is crazy. It seems like it was just yesterday. And I actually had to move from Salem up here for this job. So I really, really wanted the job. And my job title is Professional Development Office Supervisor. And so in my role, there are 5 people on my team. Lacey is one of them. All of my team are remote. And so we do a lot of team chats and things like that to help each other out as we go along the way. But I think so that helping the team is probably my number one type priority, is I want to make sure that my team is taken care of and they have what they need by, and I will try anything to get what they need. So the other thing is that the department is actually responsible for professional development for librarians across the state. So the state is divided up into, it used to be 4 quadrants, but it's a little bit different now. Lacey's up here in Northwest, Paula's up there in Northeast. Beth is our children's coordinator, and she actually travels the whole entire state and does trainings across the state. So, so we switched because we got a new person, Meg, and so she is now more like covers the central, more like and then George, who lives down in New Albany, he took the southern region. So we shook things up just a bit, hoping it would be more helpful. Of course, you can always take things back if it doesn't work, but it seems to be working really well. So I think I kind of say my job is problem solver a lot, because a lot of times are just support, motivation. I try to motivate, so I feel like, but anyway, so we're in charge of all of that professional development. And that's where the team comes in, because they have their certain regions that they cover. And then we do things for statewide as well.
I like to think of us as the librarian's librarian.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
I think Courtney had come up with that. I think when I was interviewing with you guys, she said something to that nature. And I'm like, I really like that
Yeah.
term, that we're the librarian's librarian. So,
Mhm. Yeah, and an ambassador for the state library, because when you go out and do director visits or training or whatever, you're representing the state library. And so you want to be, the best that you can be so that you can help them, like you said, the librarian's librarian. Yeah,
mhm.
that's good. I like it.
So, what is one aspect of your job that you found surprising?
Well, I think in the beginning, it was all of the different services that the Indiana State Library offers. Because even though I had been a school librarian and a public librarian, well, the public librarian was a lot way back, so it's not like current, but I was surprised by how many things that we offer. I feel like we offer a lot of things that people don't know about. And it even took me a while, to find out exactly what each department does and what their purpose is. So yeah, I think it's probably just how many things that the Indiana State Library offers to public librarians and any other librarians that request it. Yeah.
I think that was one of the most surprising things for myself as well. Even though being
Mhm,
in public libraries for almost 20 years, I
mhm,
didn't realize everything that the state offered, which is kind of a
yes,
shame. So I'm hoping
mhm,
that we're able to get out a little bit more for
mhm,
our librarians to know that,
mhm,
oh, here, we have this for you. So I
mhm.
think that's great.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. The funny thing was too, is whenever I started my job, the other thing that was surprising is how many acronyms there are in library world or state library business. And so, I'll never forget my first day. Was it my first day, second day? They're like, okay, well, you'll be planning INLA. I'm like, I'm like, INLA, what's INLA? Never heard of it before. Difference in conference. Never heard about that. So I have to add that because that was another thing is I had to learn all those acronyms to make
Mhm.
sure I knew what department to go to.
There's a lot of acronyms throughout librarianship, and it's
Yeah,
hard sometimes when you know them and you're just like spitting them out, and the patrons are like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. You gotta bring it to their level so they know, or explain it well enough so they
mhm,
know. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, what services or programs would you like for Indiana libraries to know more about?
Well, the first thing that always pops in my mind if I hear that kind of question is Inspire, because Inspire has been around. It's our let me explain what Inspire is. It's actually our online database of all kinds of research um, databases that they can access. And so I think it's interesting how many people, even after 20 years or 22, I forget how many now, still don't really know what it is. And so that's one thing when I started that I felt like I was really trying to emphasize. And then it's kind of not been quite as, um, I guess, I mean, people would ask for tech classes because they had to get those technology library education units. And so I feel like I focused a lot more on like Inspire in those first few years. Um, and of course, we've had some changes with Inspire. The homepage looks great. The search interface is much easier to use. Um, so yeah, so that would be one. And then probably just in general, like our department, like what we do, because I think you guys do a great job of staying in touch with your directors and libraries and answering questions and all that. But I'm sure there's probably still people that don't know that you could go visit them or help them with something. And it's just trying to get the word out about all these services. Just like you said, you didn't realize how many, I didn't realize how many, and we had to learn about them. But yeah, I think it's just trying to promote the state library, because we do have so many wonderful resources. Mm.
We do. There's a
Yeah.
lot.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it takes a while to figure out what everything is. Yeah.
And
Mm.
Inspire is great, and it's way more user friendly than it used to be 20 years ago.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
but there's a lot of great databases on there that
Mhm.
uh, can be used by anybody in the
Yeah,
state of
yeah,
Indiana. So,
yeah. And I
which is
think that's
nice.
why it's hard to get the word out because it covers the whole state. How do you promote something like that when it is accessible by everybody? Just, they just don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's our job is to, introduce to them, explain, whatever. So, yeah, so that's probably the biggest one, and just, I guess, if you wanted to know more about us, probably the best way to do it is to go to our website. That's library.in.gov because there you can see everything on one page. So that might be the place for people to start to learn about our programs.
Yeah, that's a great place to start for them is the
Yep,
website.
yep,
But then
I
also
agree.
to reach out to their regional coordinators, we can help with that too.
Yes. way to go, Lacey. That's the perfect thing to say to your libraries because that's what you can do. Yes, yes, for sure.
I always say that if I don't know the answer, I'll find it. I am a reference librarian at heart, so
Exactly.
I will do my
Exactly.
research.
Exactly. That's our first mode of attack, I think, is research. So yeah.
So I know that we are kind of getting to the end of our year because we're into October, so we are slowing down a little bit, which is nice. But are you currently working on any projects that you would like to share with us today?
Well, currently, I'm trying to work to put together an agenda for our upcoming institutional workshop. That will be in November. We do that annually so that library staff that work in correctional facilities have the opportunity to earn the continuing education credits that they need. And so I think it's 3 hours of credit. So we'll be having a workshop on Friday, November 15th from 10 to 2 for that. And I am working with several different people trying to figure out what would be the best way. Because right now, always before, we've always just had the same session and everyone attended the same session. But they have kind of reached out to me and they're sending the information to the principals of the direction no, Department of Youth Services for the state education. And so I am trying to think like maybe, could we have them go off here and do something more specific to students and have everybody else do something? So that's something I'm playing around with in my head. It's just, how can we serve them better? And make sure that they get something worthwhile out of it. So it's kind of fun though. I like planning it you know, and I like figuring out what we're gonna do. Um, yeah, so yeah, things are going good. That's pretty much, I guess that's my major one, but the other thing would be I still am working on a Moodle course for this year. My goal is to have it finished by the end of the year, and it is about the conflict that resolution and what you can do in those situations. I think it's almost kind of like the follow-up to the one I did last year, which was customer service. And so this one is more like how do you handle those difficult situations? So that's a Moodle. I've been educating myself too because I've been taking LinkedIn learning courses, kind of focusing on these things that I want to include in I want to make it tailored to librarians. But some of the information that I'm getting is, like customer service etiquette, um, you know, professionalism. There's just so many different things that LinkedIn Learning offers. And so I have taken probably 3 or 4 courses just to try to get some newer, updated information to add to the presentation.
And mentioning LinkedIn Learning, that is something that the
Mhm.
Indiana State Library provides. So if somebody is interested in taking those courses, how would they go about signing up for that?
Okay, well, on our page, which actually isn't very obvious at the very beginning when you go to that. You can go down to the very bottom of the find training page. If you go all the way down to the bottom, there's a form. And basically, all I need is your name, your email, and your library name. That's it. So if you just want to, send those to me, that's fine too. But I get automatic notifications when a form has been filled out, and then I go in and add the user to LinkedIn Learning. There is,
Which is nice that that
yeah,
is offered and we can use that to get some of
yeah.
our LEUs and just further
Mhm.
education, which
Yeah,
is
there's so much on there now. They just keep adding tons and tons of courses. I think I get a newsletter every week, and there's at least 40 new
oh
classes
wow.
that have been added. And then I think it's on their blog. They send me a link to their blog. But it will list it in kind of like categories, of course, a lot of those like programming language type courses, it's like, I'm not interested in that. But they also have all those like people
Mhm.
skills training. lots of great ones. So yeah, so I would encourage you, if you have not ever signed up, to sign up and check it out.
So to end our interview, I would like to ask, because we are librarians and we love
Mhm,
to read,
mhm.
what are you reading or listening to right now?
I'm going to check my phone because I read on my phone Libby. If you don't know what Libby is, you can actually use Libby to check out books from your public library. What do I have? Okay, Our Kind of Game by Johanna Copeland. I love thrillers, suspense, or mystery. The only other I'm like turned off romance for like forever, I think, but that's just a personal decision. And so those are probably the categories that I check out the most. But the other category that I like is historical fiction, and especially, I don't know why, but especially if it's related to World War II, because I just feel, there's just so much to learn, and to read it as historical fiction, I can absorb it better, I guess, is what you said. I mean, it's not like I won't research it, but you learn a little bits of things about the time period or what was going on, even though some is fiction. But so that would be my choice. But this one is, I think it was hang on just a second. Uh, oh shoot. I was gonna see if I could, okay. All right. A gifted new suspense writer makes her sizzling debut with a serpentine tale exploring all the ways in which men enact violence on women, how women try to reclaim their own sense of self, and the lingering effects on their children's lives. So, and I won't read it all, but like it goes back in time, or two different time periods, like 1987 and the 2019, two different women. Anyway, I'm just excited. I haven't actually started this one. I checked it out with the intention, but it's been too busy, so I'll probably start reading um, this over the weekend, since we have a long weekend. But yeah, top when I go to search: thrillers, suspense, mystery. That's my number one that I choose. Yeah, and I've read several. Last year I did a funny thing, which I did not do this year, but last year I wanted to keep track of how many books I'd read, because I just never really did that. And Chelsea, my daughter, had mentioned something about it. So I decided I would get on Instagram, and every time I finished a book, I would, take a screenshot and I would add it to my Instagram account. And how many, I'd have to go back and see how many, I think it was like 67 or something, because I do love to read. So that was fun to keep track of that. And then I didn't do it this year, so I don't know.
I'm
Yeah.
actually doing that this year. After each month, I put together on Pic Collage the different books that I read, and then I post it to my TikTok and Instagram. And
Oh,
because I wanted to keep track
great.
of how many books I was reading this year. So, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
read more. So it is, I think it'll be fun next year to go back through and look back
Yeah.
to see what I have read or listened to, because I'm really into audiobooks right
Right.
now because
Yeah.
I travel. It's a
Yes.
great way to spend that 2 hours or whatever I'm in the car listening
Yeah.
to a book. So,
Yeah. I love that.
well, thank you so much, Kara, for joining me for our first tea time. This is a program that I wanted to create so that we can basically celebrate our other library staff. So it might be a director I interview, or a support staff, or anybody really in within the library that's doing something. Just every library is doing so many wonderful things, and I just kind of wanted to point that out
Mhm.
to everyone and let them brag a little bit, I guess, about what
Yeah.
they're doing. So I'm
Yeah.
starting with Indiana library staff. So I wanted to start with you, and then I'll interview some more of our coworkers, and then maybe more within the Indiana State Library, so that they can brag a little bit too about
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
they're doing. So
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Um,
and
thank you.
I hope everybody looks forward to the next tea time with librarians.
All right. Thanks, Lacey.